Alright, howdy folks, welcome back to Top Comics Pressing. Right here we're going to have another unboxing, and this I hope is going to be an exceptional, extraordinary, extremely awesome unboxing, because what I have right here are hopefully 4 comics that are coming back to me fresh from CGC after being signed and converted to Signature Series books at C2E2, which was held March 31st to April 2nd, 2023. So that was conveniently over my birthday weekend, and I treated myself to a couple of C2E2 passes and some autographs, and I posted a lot of the stuff on Instagram while I was there, but the books are back and the grades are in from CGC, and so I think it's time to see how we went. Now hopefully in here there are 4 books. 3 of them should be X-Men #1, the 90s run with the Jim Lee connecting covers. And the other one should be an X-Men Adventures #1. So the X-Men Adventures #1 is actually autographed by 6 of the voice actors from the 90s cartoon show. And of course, X-Men '97 is supposed to be coming out sometime here in the near future. And so as a 90s kid, I could not be more ecstatic about the reemergence of the show. Now, the X-Men Adventures #1 is actually for a buddy of mine who really wanted to get it autographed but couldn't make C2E2, and so I told him I'd slip that one in the pile and get it autographed. The other 3 are all the connecting Jim Lee covers, and those are going to be mine. And I only had 3 of them because the voice actor for Magneto was not there, but I did get the voice actors for Jean Grey, Rogue, Storm, Beast, Wolverine, and Gambit all to sign, and so that should be pretty awesome. And the other thing that's really cool about it is the X-Men #1, the final panel with Xavier, Beast, and Storm, was already signed by 3 of the greats. It was already a 9/8 Signature Series book featuring autographs from Stan Lee, Chris Claremont, and Jim Lee, and so hopefully we'll be able to retain those 9/8s. I thought it was kind of a bold move to crack a pre-existing 9/8 with Stan Lee, Jim Lee, and Chris Claremont, but I really wanted to extend it to the broader X-Men audience and get the voice actors from the cartoon, which of course was super important to me and my love for comics when I was a kid. Now, the other thing is hopefully these all have the Jim Lee X-Men custom label across the top, and I typically am not a big custom label guy. I think it's kind of a clever gimmick by CGC to charge you $5 for a different label when you're already paying for a whole label, but in this case they would match. So let's just see here, we have the CGC invoice, which is good. And the first one here is a X-Men #1 9/8. This one is going to feature Wolverine and Cyclops. It does indeed have the custom banner, so we're very excited about that. So that's pretty epic. Now, this one is signed by Wolverine, who is voice acted by Cal Dodd, and I chose a quote from each of these characters that I thought would epitomize both X-Men overall, but also the role in the animated series. And in this particular case, I went with I go where I want to go. And I'll point out Cal Dodd here was actually really awesome in person. Actually, to get in line for these people, because the parking was insane at C2E2, my wife actually dropped me off like a mile from the convention center where the parking was backed up, and I literally ran for like a half mile until I ran out of breath, because it turns out I'm kind of old now. And then I caught my breath and slowly started to walk, and then I ran for some more, and then I sprinted in and I got to the front of the line. And actually most of the voice actors were there early. They were happy to meet people, and it was totally awesome. Anyway, so Cal Dodd was awesome because I said, hey, do you mind signing it? You know, I go where I want to go. I picked out a quote from the cartoon for each of all these characters, and dude was awesome because he laid out like the whole scene like he was getting directions from the director to like set it up to be able to deliver the line. He's like, and then, you know, pretty boy Scott is trying to boss you around, and he's like, then I go where I want to go. And I was like, oh yeah, that's totally it. All right, so I geeked out for a little bit. But this is totally awesome. 9/8 CGC custom label autograph signature series with the quote right here, I go where I want to go, which is pretty much about as Wolverine as it gets from the animated series. So that's pretty awesome. Now, next up here, we have another 9/8. This one is going to be, let's see here, this is the 3rd panel of the series. And this one is going to be signed by Chris Potter, and then Lorraine Zahn, who voiced Rogue in Gambit. And so there we go. There's our 9.8. Again, custom label, so that's pretty awesome. You can see the quote in here from Lorraine Zahn, and then we got Chris Potter down here. Now, I had there were a lot of really awesome quotes from Rogue and Gambit respectively, but I try to choose most of these from the original two-parter Night of the Sentinels. Mostly because I think I've watched that two-part episode like God knows how many times. But the favorite thing there, of course, Gambit is always with style, and he refers to Jubilee as petite or Rogue was petite through the whole thing. So I had Chris sign it with style, petite with style. And I had a nice conversation with him confessing that as little kids, I think my brother and I threw almost every object under the sun at each other, all saying, with style, with style, with style. And we would just like throw stuff at each other. And that was kind of our code to be like, we're playing, we're playing, we're playing. Although some of the objects, I have to confess, were a little bit heavier and blunter than they probably should have been. But it was still a lot of fun. Now, for Rogue, I went lighten up on the speeches, Suga. And of course, Suga is how she refers to a lot of the characters throughout the show. But that quote actually comes from when Storm is in the mall in the original opener with Jubilee, and Storm's like brewing up the lightning bolts to fire at the Sentinels, and Rogue just like, lighten up on the speeches, Shoga. Anyway, that was too perfect for me. So this one is great. We got Rogue and Gambit on the same issue, 9.8. Beautiful custom label. Could not be happier with that. So that is fantastic. All right, we're going to take an intermission here before we get to the big one. We do have the X-Men, the Animated Adventures #1. This one is signed Jean Grey, Rogue, Wolverine, Storm, Beast, and Gambit. And so, it does have all 6 of them on it. This one came at 9.2. It was pretty clear it was not going to be a 9.8 right out of the bat. There was a little bit of edge wear, a little bit of corner ticks, a little bit of etc. 9.2 is still a very respectable book. And I think this one looks totally awesome. So, a very cool book for my buddy. I was happy to be able to add that one to the collection. Also does feature the custom label, which again, usually I think is kind of a big gimmick, but in this case I could not resist. So, all right, now for the big drum roll. This is the one that was previously a 9.8, signed by Stan Lee, Jim Lee, and Chris Claremont. And it is now a scribble fest that I could not be happier with, coming in at a 9.8. Again, with our custom logo up here, which is pretty awesome. And so that'll look awesome. So this is now signed by Chris Claremont. We got Chris Claremont right there. We've got Jim Lee right down there. That's a Jim Lee scribble. We've got a Stan Lee scribble right there. And we now have quotes from 3 of the X-Men voice actors. And so Catherine Disher is Jean Grey. Jean is the character I had the hardest time picking a quote for. Mostly because it turns out in the first few episodes before she gets converted to the Phoenix, she actually doesn't say that much. She's kind of in the background for a lot of it. So I said, you did what you had to do. And this is, of course, where Cyclops is really beating himself up because Morph, it turns out, is not dead. But at the time, Cyclops and the other X-Men think that Morph was killed in the original raid on the Sentinels, or to get the records or destroy the records, of the facility. And he's beating himself up for it, and Jean's trying to reassure him. And so I thought that was really good. George Buza is Beast, and I chose a quote for Beast, which is down here, to be disconcerting yet provocative. And I thought that was kind of perfect for Beast. For those of you that have watched the cartoon, he has one of the deepest vocabularies of any of the characters. He's always kind of verbose. He's almost the Shakespearean element of the show in a lot of ways, and in a lot of ways he's also the X-Men's moral compass, sort of standing trial as the mutant while he's actively being persecuted, but the whole time he's making rational arguments for why his behavior really deserves special attention. And of course the character himself is almost essentially pacifistic. Even in Enter Magneto, when Magneto rips into the prison, Beast refuses to go out with Magneto and instead decides to hold his position and stand trial, even though he's later accused of being part of the conspiracy with Magneto. But I love this too because I'm a chemist, and the disconcerting yet provocative is when Beast is so this is where Jubilee in the first one makes it into the Xavier Estates, and she's kind of wandering through the X-Men complex, tiptoeing around while she thinks she's trying to escape, and Beast is like mixing up chemicals in the lab, and one of them like poofs up in his face, and he's like, oh, disconcerting yet provocative. All right. point. So, you know, every failed experiment is a lead for, you know, a good experiment. And I thought that that quote just really nailed it. So that was pretty awesome. Okay, so the last one that's on here I thought was the one that really epitomizes the X-Men. So this one is from Allison Seeley Smith, who is Storm, and it's one of the longer quotes here right across the top. And so, you know, probably the quote that I think really epitomizes the X-Men, and especially the Claremont writing, whether it be you know, God Loves, Man Kills type novel. So if you haven't read that, that one's an excellent one. Whether it be kind of the overtones of the 90s cartoon, you know, all of that I think can be summarized with people fear what they do not understand. And this is coming from the end of the first episode where Storm is on the mansion's roof talking with Jubilee, and Jubilee is like, "Why do they hate me so much? I'm just a teenager. I'm just a little bit different." You know, and Storm has to explain to her why people fear what they do not understand. And that to me was just like perfect. And, you know, I think it explains an awful lot of why people really have such a passion for the X-Men. It's because, you know, regardless of kind of how you identify, you can pick an X character who is perfect for you. And, anyway, so these are my books. I'm super excited for these. I actually couldn't be more thrilled. Now, if you're asking about where the Magneto panel number 4 is, I guess I'll be on the hunt for that one to finish the whole set. But I honestly could not be more thrilled with... Let me make sure I don't drop any of these. That would be really embarrassing for me to send them back. But this panel right here is 3 out of the 4, all signature series, all 9/8, all with that custom label. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. All reliving what it means to be a 90s kid who's an X-Men fan. So anyway, that's all I got. Special thank you to the voice actors who spent the time out of their day to come to C2E2. It was awesome meeting people. It was really great interacting and just, you know, whether it was chit-chatting or confessing how we used to throw objects at each other, or getting a little bit of a voice acting lesson from Kel Dodd, or any of the above. It was a super awesome day. And these will be part of the PC for a long time. So hopefully you enjoyed a little bit of the unboxing here, got a little bit to see what I picked up at C2E2. And go ahead and leave a thumbs up for the video, like and subscribe, click that subscribe button, and thank you for your attention. We'll be back with another video soon.